All right, all right, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Man.
I'm Hanny Mura. I'm here with Thomas from Measure Studio. I'm so excited, man. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, before we dive into all the good stuff, just gonna let people roll in. So, if you're here, you're leaving comments. Yeah, I see it. Awesome, awesome. Just say hi so I know you're here. And just to let you know if I don't pronounce your name, sometimes with StreamYard, you don't see all the names of people leaving comments, but sometimes I fire up my phone. But you know what? Let's keep it simple. Just say hi, and if you're in the group, just maybe leave your name and stuff. But we got really exciting. Like we got Morgan here, we got Art, we got some good stuff. We got a really good special training today. I'm here with Thomas from Measure Studio, and he's got an amazing app that really, like, literally, like aligns with what we do at Repurpose here. In the sense that Repurpose gets your content out to multiple platforms. Measure Studio comes in and it tracks it all for you automatically and lets you kind of customize and see how your content is doing, and also how which content's doing better than others, etc. We're gonna dive in, but before we do that, I'm just gonna wait another few minutes. While we do, we're just gonna chat and just let me know, I guess, if you've heard of Measure Studio. It's pretty new. It's been around, I think, earlier this year. It launched out to available. So if you've heard of it, or if you're using any kind of tools to track what you're doing now, I'd love to know. Everybody watching, just let me know if you're using a tool right now, and also, I can't wait to show you what Measure Studio can do. So yeah, we'll just, I guess, yeah, I don't even know what. It's been 2 minutes. Let's just do a quick introduction, and we'll just
Sure.
let's roll with it. Let's respect people's time and just roll with it. So
Sounds
maybe
good.
just tell us quickly how this idea came about, and for Measure Studio. I know you have other softwares as well, but how
Yeah,
did Measure Studio come out, and a little bit of background about yourself?
sure. Happy to talk about that. So just starting with me, I'm Thomas Kramer. I'm co-founder and COO over at Paladin Software, the company that offers Measure Studio. I co-founded Paladin about 4 years ago with my business partner, James Creech. He and I both came from the MCN world. So I worked at Maker Studios, which got purchased up by Disney, and he worked at an
Wow.
MCN called Ben Pixels. So originally, the business model was, hey, we're going to start out, we're going to build some tools for YouTube networks. And as that industry evolved, we got into influencer marketing, and we still do that today. But primarily, what we had heard from a lot of people connected to our network is, there's a lot of people we know who work in the digital publishing space, a lot of people we know work directly with creators, a lot of people we know who are creators themselves. And they're
Mm-hmm.
all struggling with one thing in particular, which is multi-platform data. Like,
Yeah.
video 4 or 5 years ago, YouTube was the only game in town. And now it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's everywhere. There's live streaming, which you guys are very familiar with. So what we sought out to do is like, okay, how can we make all of this information consolidated in one place? How can we make it really easy for people to understand and analyze and understand, like, okay, what's the content that's doing well? What's the content that's doing poorly? How do I do a little bit better than next time I'm making
Mm-hmm.
this content? And yeah, just make it so you don't have to be a data scientist to put this together. And, we wanted to build a product that was useful all the way, at the tippy top with some of our existing customers of, like major digital publishers of hundreds of social media accounts who are publishing hundreds of times a day, all the way down to like, somebody who's just starting out. Maybe they just started their Instagram, or maybe they just started their YouTube channel, and they want to understand, like, hey, what am I throwing out there that's working, and how do I double down on the strategy? So the end goal is make something really simple that anybody across that spectrum could use and take advantage of.
Yeah, that's what I love, and that's why when we connected, maybe a week or no, maybe a few weeks back, and you showed me Measure Studio, and that was my first reaction. I was like, "Wow, I love that it's simple. You just kind of click a button, you connect your accounts, it just starts pulling in data." We're gonna show that in a few minutes
Mm-hmm.
how it all works, but yeah, I love the simplicity, and I love the fact you don't have to be a data scientist. Like I love
Right.
numbers, but then sometimes I'm overwhelmed by numbers. I'm like, okay, this is great. I got all these views, but or I got this data and that, but what does it mean, or how do I
Right.
compare it? How do I easily compare it with other data, and that kind of stuff. So before we dive into the software itself, I guess what are like some key metrics? So like how does somebody know, like content creator,
Mhm.
our repurposed users are ninjas, we call them, that they are, they're putting content out, they're creating it once, they're putting it on different platforms.
Mhm.
How do they know what's working? Like what are signals or signs that content
Right.
is working on one platform versus the other, or in general, like what's working, what's not working? Like what are good
Whoa.
indicators?
Yeah, it's a challenging question for a lot of
Yeah.
people who just working with the platform's own native analytics. And there's a couple reasons for that. I think one of the biggest challenges is the algorithms are changing all the time. And so is the size of your audience. Like if you're growing at a meaningful clip, say you get 1,000 video views on a given piece of content that you throw out there. Well, maybe your following doubled 6 months later. Like, is 1,000 follower or video views on that post really a good benchmark for success? Like, your conditions
Mm,
change. The platforms are also evolving really quickly, and look at a format like stories. Like, stories used to be a Snapchat feature. Now it's on Instagram. Now it's on Facebook. Now it's on YouTube, and it's spreading everywhere. So,
mm,
when the platforms are releasing new features or formats, they tend to overly prioritize those things in the newsfeed and the user interface and change things. And we saw this with live streaming. Like, live streaming 3 years ago on Facebook was a big new product push, and every live stream you saw was at the very tippy top of the feed 100%
mm-hmm.
of the time. And then they kind of, turned the water spigot off, and then they pumped it up again for stories. So, the conditions of the algorithm are changing all the time too. So, maybe 3 years ago, really high video view count on a stream is no longer as easily achievable because of that. So now, even though your performance might be a little bit lower, you still might have a really good live stream because relative to all the conditions right now, that stream's doing well. So that's what we try and do, is we try and measure you relative to your recent performance on everything. So it's like, did you do a little bit better than last time? Not did you do a little bit better when the algorithm was favoring this post type, or did you do a little bit better when you had half the number of followers? So I think that's an important way to like set this up, is like, the conditions of the environment are important.
Right.
In terms of like just absolute metrics for success, there's definitely a lot of things to look at. And another problem that we try and handle, at least when we can, is that the platforms themselves define things differently. So if you look at a video view, for example, on Instagram and Facebook, is defined as 3 seconds. So somebody stopped on that feed and they watched for at least 3 seconds. It's autoplay. On YouTube, they don't publish an exact definition, but you click that video and it plays for probably around a minute. At least that's how they log it on an ad view. I think it's 30 seconds or a minute or something close to that.
Okay.
If you look at Twitter, it's, I think, like 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds. So don't quote me on any of these definitions, but I do know that they're all different. So
Right.
one of the challenges is like, how do you measure these things apples to apples across platforms? And that's something that we address by calculating 1 minute views. And we derive that. So it's like, what did you watch 1 minute view on YouTube? And they watched this many 1 minute views on Facebook. And you get a little bit of an apples to apples comparison.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But
Okay.
there's a lot of metrics for success. I mean, impressions are, probably the biggest thing you could look at right now, is like, okay, how many people actually saw the thing? And then you kind of go down the funnel from like, impressions to, in the case of video, a video view. So somebody stuck around for a little while and saw it for at least a small portion. And then you take that down to audience retention. And you say like, oh, well, who watched this thing all the way through? And like, really, that's your core metric, is like, if you are trying to grow audience, how are you making content compelling enough that people want to watch it all the way through and they want to stick around and follow you later? So like, did this activity generate a new follower? Did they share it and blast it out to other people and try and augment your total impressions? So those are, really the biggest key things I'd be looking at.
Okay. So it's like impressions, like how many times the platform put it in front of people,
Yep.
how many times, and then how many actual views you got,
Mm-hmm.
and then any kind of engagement in terms of share, comment, like that kind of stuff. I guess
Right.
in your thoughts, opinion, like are those, I want to say equal, but are they equal? Like, is that an engagement? Is a like a comment or a share? Are they all equal, or is there like more value in getting one versus the other, or kind of from your experience? I
Yeah.
know nobody knows how the algorithms work, but from your experience, like someone that interacts with your content in one way or
Mhm.
another is valuable for your view.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if they were compelled enough to take some kind of action, I think that's a good thing. I don't believe all actions are created equal. You know, clicking a like button is or tapping it on your phone takes about half a second,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, it doesn't. You don't really infer a lot of information out of that. If somebody
Right.
took the time to comment on it and they provided you some real time feedback, maybe they asked you a question, maybe they're critical, that's okay too. Like, you know, at least you're getting some feedback for your audience on like, how did this land? What do they want? Do they reinforce what you had to say? And I think that's really useful for your feedback as a creator and how you make content into the future, good or bad. And then, of course, you know, sharing can be good. Sharing can also be bad. Someone can be criticizing you, whatever. But if ultimately your end goal is to amplify your reach and get in front of eyeballs and grow your audience, I think that's probably the most valuable form of
The
engagement.
share, yeah, because all the track, whatever network is watching, this whole additional network is watching, they're gonna watch. All the stats are being accumulated under that original video. So a share is
Mm-hmm.
a great way to kind of multiply your reach. Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. So, I mean, one last thing before we dive into the software itself. I mean, my first thoughts are, and this is something I do a lot, and I find it works well. Like just from a human level, like when someone leaves a comment on any video or live stream. I mean, live streaming is sometimes hard to do it while you're streaming, but
Mm-hmm.
I do it after the fact. I always reply back. I mean, it sounds like okay, this is obvious. Of course, you would reply back,
Totally.
but a lot of people don't. And to me, I look at it as two ways. A, the person took the time to leave a comment. They're engaged, they're interested, they're watching this video, whatever. Even if they watch the first 30 seconds, they took some time to leave a comment. So I always appreciate and leave a comment back and reply, just to acknowledge them.
Totally.
And then it's like, then I look at it as another thing. It's like, well, I'm always curious. Like, is this also helping the algorithm? I always wondered that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it help the fact that you commented back? Does that help your video views in any ways on
Mm-hmm.
a given platform? Do you, again, nobody knows exactly how algorithms work, but
Sure.
from your thoughts, your experience from customers, like, is that true, or is that something? I mean, obviously, it's good to do from a
Yeah.
human to human interaction. Is good to respond to
Absolutely.
someone's comment, but do you think it actually helps in terms of reach?
I do think it helps, maybe in a little bit of a roundabout way. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
it's necessarily affecting the algorithm directly, but you know, if you are directly engaging with your audience and those people feel like they have a relationship with you, and you know, the great thing about being a creator yourself is oftentimes people are getting a little bit of a window into your life. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's sitting on the television. You have a chance to interact with your audience directly and build a relationship directly with some of those fans. You could even meet them in person, or you know, interact with them at events, or build your own products or business. And so I think when you create those ride or die fans who feel like, okay, I'm part of the conversation, I know
Mm-hmm.
this person knows me and acknowledges me, they're more likely to support you in the end. And if they are watching more of your content on a more regular basis, I think that probably does impact how things perform in the algorithm long term.
Yeah, good points. Good points.
Yeah.
Okay, so the title of this video was, how do you know if your content is working?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a good segue to jump in to just show a little bit about how, well, not a little bit, dive into how Measure Studio works and just do a screen share. I mean, everyone's welcome to ask questions. A lot, fire them off right now, or just say hi right now, or as you see something, leave a question, and I will get back to it. Whether we do it on the spot, I might interrupt Thomas in his demo and ask that specific question, or we'll definitely come back at the end and answer anything we may have missed. So don't be shy. Leave a question if you have anything, or your thoughts or your input as we go along, and we'll definitely respond. So I'm going to just kick in the screen share for Thomas, and he's going to walk through his software. So it's just a little bit of background about it. It's about 6 months old or so. I mean, in public, it's been around for about 6 months, and he showed it to me 3 weeks ago, around 3 weeks ago. I fell in love. Like it's just awesome. A, it's simple. Like I'm always about the simple. You know how it like simple, and it's like you connect your account, and it's just automated. Like just data just comes in. You don't have to do anything, and then you can do a lot of group things and visualize things the way that you want to, and that's what Thomas is going to show. So I'm not going to keep you guys hanging. I'm going to turn on the screen share and let Thomas work his magic. And like I said, fire off your questions as we're going along in the comments, and I'll either we'll answer them directly at the spot, or we'll answer them as we're going along. At the end. I apologize. Okay,
Cool.
Giddy up. So this is the screen. So yeah, I'm not sure how far you're going through an actual live account.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you can talk a little bit about how you connect things very briefly from basically from start to end, even though you've already done it obviously in this demo.
Yeah.
So the floor is all yours.
Perfect. All right. Well, this is Measure Studio, guys. This is kind of the first view that a user sees when they have an account connected. They see a little bit different view when an account's not connected that prompts them to connect. So I'll show you how that works. So say I want to connect a new Instagram account. And you can see I've connected a few here already. We support 4 different platforms today: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're also working on Snapchat and hopefully TikTok and Twitch in the pretty near future. So we really want to hit all the main platform beats and get data in there so long as we can. So to add an account, it's pretty clear and easy. You click Add Account. It tells you what we do and what we don't do. So Measure Studio is only a data product. So we're not syndicating data and publishing it across platforms. We think tools like Repurpose.io are great for that. We're not doing the ad buying. We're not doing any audience response. We just kind of want to make a place where you can understand how your content's doing and think about what type of content should I be making. We're also like really considerate with what we do with that data. So, we provide this data to you in your own private environment. We're not sharing it with third parties. We're not publishing or editing content on your behalf. All the data can be deleted at any time. It can be, downloaded at any time. So, we believe in data portability and right to be forgotten as well. So keeping all that in mind, let's connect an account. So from here, we can see which accounts we can connect. Let's pick Instagram. I think the screen share might be on my window and not everything.
Yeah, it might not pop up. It might not show, it's not showing the pop-up, but that's okay. I think we all get the idea. If the pop-up comes up and you log in with your respective account, Instagram or whatever it is. Yeah.
So I'm logging in with Instagram, and I'm just picking that account. So you guys didn't miss much. So I've just picked that account. Oh, well, that's unusual. It looks like my session ended. So let me.
Okay. Yeah, I think we were logged in doing a test earlier before we went live.
My apologies, everybody.
So
let's try that again really quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
And it's very similar to kind of how we connect things up in Repurpose. For those who are familiar with Repurpose, it's the YouTubes, the Facebook. You can authenticate. You're not giving your password to the software. You're just authenticating with the native way to authenticate with all the platforms. So everything's safe and secure. No password exchange.
Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly right. So it's all done via secure OAuth. We never handle your account credentials. So we never have your Instagram password or your YouTube password, any of that. So yeah, even in the unlikely event that our systems are compromised, there's no risk to anyone getting your account and publishing to it. So look, we've connected this Instagram account, synchronized the data in a few seconds. If you have a lot of content, like say you're a news publisher and you publish 20 times a day and you've been doing that for 10 years, you might take a little while to sync that data just because there's a lot more to get through. But in this case, we have my wife's hair salon, and her hair salon probably has like 100 pieces of content. So if we go back to this dashboard view, we can see kind of some basic data at the account level for each of these accounts that I've connected. So we can click on, the new account that we just added. That will start tracking things like follower growth from the day it was connected forward. And that's just a limitation of the Instagram API. But if we look at, another account that's been connected for a little while, like this one, we can see a few core metrics. Like we can see follower growth over time. We can see impressions on posts over time. You can see like impressions are ramped up because she's been publishing a little bit more. So you can see like publishing frequency, you can see views on video content. You can also pick different date periods for that. So maybe we want to see like all the viewership in 2020. Great, we can see she's gained 1,500 followers for the year so far. So why this is helpful is it just gives you a snapshot of how things are going. Like it's pretty meat and potatoes. This is data that you can see on Instagram analytics, but a little bit of the difference with us is that you're seeing this data on a time series. And Instagram tends to give you like one number for a post data or, you know, total impressions, not like impressions every day type of thing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is just a little bit more utility visually.
Yeah. One thing I just picked up on what you said, I think it's worth repeating it again, just in case somebody missed it. So with Instagram, maybe other platforms, you can correct me, it sounds like the tracking starts the day you connect it. So you cannot look at what happened in the past, but the day you connect it onwards, then the tracking starts. Is that applicable to, is that a limitation of Instagram, or is that for all the platforms?
It's different per platform. So with YouTube, for example, YouTube gives us daily historic data for as far back as we can go for everything other than revenue. So, you know, it's not for every platform. For Twitter, we don't get any historic data also. For Facebook and Instagram, what we've done is we've actually estimated historic performance in a pretty sophisticated way. So even though we're getting that data from like today forward, the consumption behavior is somewhat predictable over time. Like, you know, the amount of or percentage of your total impressions that you get in day one is relatively static. So we've done a lot of math in the background and figured out a smart way to estimate that that's unique for everybody. So I'll definitely dive into that a little bit later.
Okay, cool.
Cool. But going down, kind of like, you know, this is all basic, like, you know, what does it mean? And like the real thing we're trying to solve with Measure Studio is tell you what content is working and what content is not working. So this is just like a snapshot view of that performance. We can see recent posts. In this case, these are Instagram stories on this account that are doing well. And what we mean by doing well is the impressions or video views on these posts are a little bit higher than normal. So if they're a little bit lower than normal, we can see that. And if it's about normal, then we can see those things. So this is just a snapshot of the recent posts there. And why don't we click over to the post list and we can kind of dig into a little bit like what are the capabilities with posts and how do we make those determinations?
Yeah, I love that, by the way. I just love that. That is just plain English. Okay, what's doing well, what's not doing well, what could do better. Like it's just like I love that simplicity.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to say that. I just love that it's like in plain English, not in like stats talk, right?
Yeah. I mean, we don't want you to have a PhD in SQL to use this thing.
And it's all relative to you. I think I asked you this question before we did this live, and I think it's really important. People are like, "What are you benchmarking against?" You know, I'm not Gary Vee. I'm not putting content out daily. Blah blah blah. Whatever. So it compares you to you, right? And how you typically do with your stuff, and how you can explain. I don't know how it works, but I just love that it's not comparing you to others. I think it's worth noting.
Yeah, and that's something we wanted to think of a way. Well, there's a lot of tools out here that do competitive tracking, right? Like, you know, in this case, we're looking at my wife's account. She's a hairstylist. Maybe she wants to look at other top beauty influencers and kind of measure herself against those people. We didn't think that was a very good way of looking at things. I mean, number one, if you are just starting out and you're comparing yourself to someone with millions of followers and you're saying, oh, my video about this hair care brand is, you know, 1,000 times less than their same video covering that thing, that's pretty demoralizing. And it's not necessarily something that tells you how you can do better and how you can grow your account. So when we look at these benchmarks, you know, hey, impressions is 1.7 times higher than normal. All of that is relative to your own content. So the end goal is like, you know, how do we tell you when you're doing just a little bit better than last time? And then how do you maximize that and take it to the next level? It's not about like, how did you do relative to such and such, and are they doing better than you? You know, what does that mean for you and your mental health? I think that's like a pretty negative way to approach things as a creator.
Oh, 100%. No, that's what I love. And there's a question from Doug, before we move on to the
Sure.
details. It's about connection accounts and stuff.
Uh-huh.
It works with groups as well as pages and personal profile, or is there a limitation on where to do, or you can do all three: pages, groups,
Gotcha.
profile?
So we're limited to pages only, and that's a limitation of the APIs that Facebook provides us. So unfortunately, we can't connect personal profiles, and I think there's probably some privacy concern with doing that. Like, Facebook collects a lot of information about individuals. We kind of, even if they did give us data on individuals, which they don't, I think philosophically we don't really want to like do that. You know, we're not trying to identify who follows you across multiple platforms or how old they are, all these things. Like, all this data is aggregated and anonymized. So, you know, people's privacy is maintained and intact. So I think that's the reason why that they're not providing that type of data.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I know. Yeah, sometimes you have to work within sometimes, always you have to work within the platform's limitations.
Yes. Lord Zuckerberg has decided that we can have this data, and we're grateful.
Yes.
So yeah, let's just kind of like check out what we have here in Post. So Post is really where the meat of our application sits. So what we're looking at is a grid of every single post and story that's been added to all of the accounts that we've connected. So in this case, we've connected 7 accounts across a few different platforms, and they're all here in one place for us to slice and dice. We try and keep things pretty simple, so you don't have to be a math wizard to understand. You might notice these highlights here that are green. Green is good. Red could do a little bit better. So, you know, when we look at this grid, it makes it really easy to see in a visual way, like, okay, this image did well. And then we can prompt the question to ourselves, like, why did this single piece of content do well? And why didn't this stuff do well? So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through like a little case study of like how I might use this to evaluate my wife's Instagram account. So we're looking at that and we're trying to figure out like, okay, what's the type of content that resonates with your audience so we can make more of that and grow the account. So you might notice we have a bunch of filters here. So I'm going to take advantage of those, and you can see how easy it is to make like a really complex data query. But it's, you know, it's all in filters and buttons, so anybody can do it. You don't have to type in anything crazy or know the math behind it. So let's just start out. We'll filter for Instagram accounts. Like, let's ask the question, what are the Instagram stories that are working for Daniela's account? So we're going to filter for Instagram. We're going to filter for stories. We're going to filter for things that are doing great. So again, this is every single Instagram story that is performed above normal. And I'll dig into like, you know, an individual story, and we'll talk about like what normal means and everything. We'll just do one interesting thing I want to highlight is that we actually capture hourly data for the first 72 hours. And we do this for every single post type. And why this is cool is when you go into Instagram itself, it just tells you like, you know, an absolute number. How many impressions did you get on this story? But it doesn't tell you anything about the behavior. So like, we can actually snapshot this data hourly and show it on a time series. So you can say like, okay, I got the most impressions on my Instagram stories at like 9:00 p.m. Okay, I'm going to make sure that like I am posting around that time. Or maybe they got reshared by some account and it went viral somehow. And you can visually see when that happened and how, rather than just seeing a number. So like, that's something that's additive that we're doing over the native platform analytics. So let's go ahead and just do first 24 hours for Instagram. We only really care about this account for this analysis, so we're going to pick this single account. Maybe we want to look at, you know, content made in 2020. So why don't we'll just go, you know, pre-COVID-19. We'll go January 1st to March 15th. It's like, more of like a quote unquote normal time for content. And then let's sort this by the most impressions. Okay, so bam, we have a pretty complex data query here, right? Like we have Instagram stories that are doing above normal, what their performance was in their first 24 hours. So, that's hour 1, hour 24 for each of these. So they're all on equal footing in terms of like total data. We're looking at this one specific account. We're looking at stuff published in the first quarter of the year, and we're sorting it by the most impressions. And now we can scroll down and see this stuff visually and see what's been working. And when I look at this list, I see a lot of commonalities pop up right away. And let me just like back up a little bit. My wife is a hairdresser. She owns a hair salon, and she's making content specifically geared toward other hairstylists and other salon owners and trying to help them in their journey to, build a better business, be a better artisan in their craft. And that kind of sticks out in this content that's resonating here. So like the first question you want to ask is like, who are you trying to reach and why? And then the second question you want to ask is, how does the content connect those dots? So if I look at this content that's doing well, the commonalities I see right away are it's really high quality on like the subject matter. It's like zoomed in on hair. It has good lighting, and it's trying to teach people things. So you notice like a lot of these pieces of content have a text block, and they're describing exactly what she's doing to the hair and the formula she's using to do that. It's, before and afters, it's close up, so it captures the exact like techniques and quality of what she's doing. And that's really consistent. Like, I mean, we're looking at the top 20 Instagram stories on a 3-month period almost, and almost every single post resonates with that formula. So, when we first launched Measure Studio and I plugged her account in, I'm just, curious, like, hey, what's working here? Bam, we put these filters in and we have a really clear story. So now the effect has been she goes and makes that type of content all the time. And you can kind of see like about when she started doing this, the growth curve, just like, you see it kind of angle up a little bit. Like she's growing followers a little bit higher rate than before she was doing that. So it's a really powerful way of looking at things. Like what is working and how do I replicate that strategy for the audience I'm trying to reach?
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of factors, right? The video itself, and also like the thumbnail and that kind of stuff on different platforms where you can customize the thumbnail. This is a great way. I'm assuming this is the thumbnail that's pulling up.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are static images, some of them are videos, and they can be both types of story.
That's great. So you see visual, like the key is visual, right? You understand.
Yeah.
All right, this stuff works. Maybe my interview style content is not working as well as. So, do less of this and more of that. But it's a visual way to see what's going on. I love it.
We wanted to make it visual. Like if you look at, there's definitely lots of social media management software out there, but it's not visual. You're seeing like a row in a data table with, a video title or a post caption in there. And, literally all you're seeing is this part. You're seeing,
I don't remember what video that was. It's like,
yeah. That doesn't tell you anything as a creator. That's like, you can't connect the dots for like, okay, what do I need to make that's better? All you see is what did well. And that's, like we talked about earlier, it's relative. It's relative to your popularity at the time. It's relative to the platform algorithm, et cetera. So that's really what we were trying to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what caught my attention. Honestly, like it's the visual, the green, red, like just, like you said, you're making a complicated query or a complicated search, or analyzing a complicated set of criteria with just clicking a few buttons. I want Instagram. I want to see, only my videos, how they're performing. And there's a lot more. And I want to dive in a lot deeper. I just do want to, people who are curious now, I know we did kind of hint out that there are people that there might be a special offer. First reason why I brought Thomas here is because the software in terms of pricing, in terms of value, is crazy. Like people have asked us to build this into repurpose in the past. Like customers have asked, how do I measure stats from one central place? That's something we've talked about doing, but then Thomas reached out. We connected, I was like, wow, there's no way we were going to build anything close to this. We were going to just display a few numbers potentially, and that's something in the long-term plan. So, hey, I love the detail. I love how simple it is, but B, also like the price points are aligns with our customers. Like it's not like an enterprise type software. Like you're getting enterprise type value for super affordable, like super affordable. It's just, it's insane. So basically talked about giving repurposed users a 25% discount. So first, it's a free trial. You can try it for free, 14 days, I believe.
Yeah, 14 days, little card.
Yeah, you can go to repurpose.io/Measure Studio. You can try it. And if you like it and you decide to upgrade to a plan, the plans start at, I forget now, like $15 or so.
15, yeah.
Less
So,
than that, maybe even.
yeah.
But after the free trial, whatever plan you decide, is an extra 25% off discount
Yep.
for repurposed users. So there's something you're interested in, you like what you saw. We're going to dive in a lot more, but it's something you're curious about. At least sign up for a free trial, connect your account, and just see it, just experience it. Because I find that's the best way to appreciate software is to experience it yourself. And there's no risk, there's no credit card or anything. You just sign up. If you use this link, you get a special discount if you decide to upgrade as well. So it's repurpose.io/Measure Studio.
That's
Okay,
it.
yeah, I'm gonna leave this running across the bottom, and you can keep going. Like let's dive in deeper. Like what else can we do? Compare, export. I see export buttons. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's a ton of stuff in here. I know that I'm curious to learn more about because I'm not taking advantage of all these functionalities yet.
Yeah. Well, like let's get into each one of those things. And I think just really quick, I want to say like, okay, we answered the question, what content's working for Daniela? But we didn't even look at what is not working. So this is, we say could do better because we don't want to be negative and say things are doing badly. But what's interesting when I look at what's not working is a lot of this stuff is lifestyle driven. So, like I said, our audience is people who are trying to get better at running their salon business, people who are trying to get better at their craft of, hairstyling and such. And when I look at this stuff, occasionally we have something that is focused on hair. Maybe it's even follows that formula of like, okay, it's zoomed in on the hair and it has details about what happened. There's a reason it didn't do well. Like this type of content usually does well. Maybe it was published at the wrong time. Maybe it just wasn't resonating in the way of the caption. Maybe it's too technical because it's all formula and not really telling you much about whatever. Maybe it was at the end of, 20 stories. So those are all things that you could flag to yourself like, this stuff usually does well. Why didn't it do well this time? And take that into the future. But from a content perspective, we see some other commonalities emerging. We see food stuff. Like here, she's at a restaurant. We're out for dinner. More food. We're working out. Going out on the town. More food. Like it doesn't seem like this stuff is really moving the needle for her audience. So,
interesting.
People care about the hair. They don't care about what you put in your mouth that day. Anyway.
Yeah, the truth hurts sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
But on that same token, if I have that conversation with her and I said, hey, people don't care about the Dorchy pickles you eat, she'll tell me, no, people want to follow me and I'm a personality and I want to be authentic. And I think that's a really good takeaway too. Like it's not always 100% being perfect. It's not always 100% doing only the thing that is working. It's also about experimentation, and it's also about making sure that people know that you're real and you're approachable. And I think that's what works for her too. So it's like, it's okay to sprinkle some of this stuff in. It's also okay to have this little pink border around the post. It's a learning opportunity. And it gives you some insight as to okay, who of your audience is interested in this type of stuff. So it really cuts both ways, and we try and put a positive spin on how we're actually analyzing this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And actually, before we continue, the question from Doug is a really good question. Is there, let me pop it up so I make sure I don't read it wrong.
Right.
Is there a way to identify or track super fans, like individual people who are who engage more than your typical average person.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can do, or maybe something you plan on doing down the
Mhm.
road? That's a great question, actually. I like that
Yeah,
question.
that is a good question. The answer is today, no. So we don't do any type of like personal identification with things like comments or DMs. Some of those things are technical limitations. So when you ask Facebook or Instagram for permission to read comments, that's also linked with the ability to respond to comments. So one of the things that is really important to us is only doing the data and only like not leaving our technology open for an opportunity to be taken advantage of. Like if your account password, say like you use the same password everywhere, which please don't do that. Use a unique password. But say you do, and that's not uncommon, and somebody logs into your Measure Studio account, that password. We don't want anybody to be able to do anything that would hurt your account. Like we understand that, as a creator, you're working really hard to build something, and, keeping that has, a lot of time and monetary value for many of you. So we want to make sure that people aren't like responding on your behalf, that they're not publishing on your behalf. So that's one of the reasons why we don't ask for that. Technically, it is feasible. Like we can get that information from at least YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and find out like, hey, who's commenting on this and who's commenting the most. But it's just not something that we do right now. But we'll definitely think about that and consider how we could do it in a thoughtful way in the future.
Nice. No, that's a great question.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Well,
yeah. So we talked about performance good. We talked about what could do better.
yeah. Let's change it up. Let's look at maybe
Let's compare cross-platform. Yeah.
Well,
especially with repurpose. Sometimes you're posting quite a bit number of times. You're posting the same content. It might look in square versus vertical, etc. But it's the same content, the same clip across multiple platforms.
Yep.
It'd be interesting. Can you do that? Can you compare the same video across different platforms? That would be interesting.
Sure. Yeah. So let's, for example, look at videos. I don't really have a great example for one that was published across multiple platforms. I can show you like how the metrics compare.
Yeah. I mean, for the demo, you can just use any videos. It doesn't have to be the exact same video. But I was just thinking for repurpose users,
Sure.
Because we are publishing across multiple platforms. Essentially the same content in different styles. So it is possible to compare them,
right?
See which videos work better on different platforms.
Yeah. So let's.
So you selected all platforms under that filter on top.
Yeah. So like we're looking at video specifically, and now we're looking at. I'm trying to find a.
Oh, you can limit it to which accounts.
Video. These particular accounts, I don't think have published a lot of Facebook videos. So let me try and find. Okay, here's a Facebook video, for example. We don't do direct cross-platform comparisons today, but I'll give you like a sense of like on-platform comparisons and how those compare on like cross-platform. So here we've selected 2 Facebook videos and 2 YouTube videos, right?
Okay.
Once we select more than one from each platform, we have this compare button that becomes active. So this is pretty cool. So we click compare, and we can see per platform how these videos are doing for specific metrics. And one thing you'll notice is like they're not all in one place. So like, the YouTube videos are with the YouTube videos and the Facebook videos are with the Facebook videos. And part of the reasoning there is the platforms don't want you to compare data between platforms.
Oh, okay.
We want to give you that ability. We think it's an absolutely reasonable thing to do, but their concern is one platform is going to do better than the other, and they're going to lose creators. Or people are going to misinterpret the data because, like, a video view on Facebook is only 3 seconds. It's much easier to get than a video view on YouTube. So, you might get a lot more video views on Facebook, and YouTube says, hey, wait a minute, like that doesn't mean necessarily did better because it was just a lower bar to crop, right? So YouTube doesn't want you comparing head-to-head YouTube to Facebook. But we've thought of, like, how can we make such a comparison as easy as possible for you without doing it directly? So in this case, if we look at YouTube, then we can see, okay, we have these two videos selected. We can pick their performance period. So why don't we do like first 28 days? So they each have been published for about 4 weeks. You can see one of them kind of did very little and then popped like after a week and started doing comparing. So like, we can see, okay, this video about Olaplex started out pretty strong and it's been a slow burn. But then this video about color corrections started really slow and then kind of exploded and even, grabbed ahead of it. And we can compare any available metric that both of these videos have. So, there's a lot of data here. We're tracking every single thing that we can possibly track, and we want to give you the flexibility to be able to see anything you want to see. So, if we want to see like subscribers gained from each of those videos, that's interesting. It tells a little bit of different story than the views. Like in this case, the Olaplex video consistently grew more audience than the other video, even though it was viewed slightly less. So, that's interesting. It says like, okay, maybe there's something about this video that resonated with new eyeballs more than color correcting. Maybe I'm exposing myself to a new audience. So that's really cool. But if we want to do something kind of more in line with a comparison, one thing we're doing is we're looking at how long somebody's watching a video. So in the case of YouTube, we've calculated how many 1-minute views you have. And that's interesting because if we ignore just what is a video view and those two definitions being different and figure out a way to align on like a single definition across platforms, like 1-minute views, then a comparison becomes pretty straightforward and simple. So I can look at 1-minute views for these YouTube videos and I say, okay, people watched more views for longer on this Olaplex video. And if I look over at Facebook, and maybe let's just pretend I'm looking at the same video and it got syndicated over on Facebook, we have that same metric here, 1-minute video views. Oh, well, I think in this case, these videos are shorter than 1 minute, and that's what's creating the problem here. So, just pretend they're showing. It wouldn't be a live demo if there wasn't a hiccup. But in any case, yeah, so, you could look at your 1-minute views on YouTube, and then you could bop over here and look at your 1-minute views on Facebook. And, it's a little annoying to, have to bop back and forth, but unfortunately, that's what we have to do to comply with the platform's terms.
Oh, okay. So you can do it. They don't want you to do it, so that you're gonna violate the terms of service if you do it. So you're not. Okay, I gotcha. So the data's there. You're seeing it. You just gotta click a tab so that you don't violate the terms of service. Yeah. No, I hear you.
And if you want to make it easy, you could just click this export button, and you can export this data out of a CSV. You can email it to yourself. You can download it, whatever you want to do. You can put it all together yourself in about 10 seconds in a Google Sheet or something like that. So, we want to reduce the friction to doing an analysis like that as much as we can.
Awesome. Oh, I like that. You can export data into a CSV and pull it into anywhere else and do even more, compare even more than you want, if you wanted to. But I mean, to me, it's like the simplicity of having the data visually. To me, that's the value for me. Like, I want to pop in and see, okay, what's working, what's not working. Let's do more of this and less of that. Absolutely. And then let's see what happens in a week or two.
Yeah. On that note, like exporting is, from the post list, we have a lot of flexibility in what we export. So we can export literally everything. We could export every available metric for every platform. Maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe we just want to export basic information about the post, like the post title and the date it was published, and Instagram impressions. Boom. Okay, we can do a report with only that and not 60 columns that are hard to deal with. And then, you can always choose, the CSV, XLSX format. You can download or email that data.
Or email. So, sweet. I like that.
Yeah. We got data portability is important to us. And you'll see this export button all over the app. So you can download your stuff at any time.
That's awesome. And then beyond posts and comparing, you were
Mhm.
showing me something about grouping content so that you can kind of
Yeah.
look at different types of groups quickly. How does that
Totally.
work?
So grouping is really easy. So, say you are publishing stuff across multiple platforms and you wanted to create a group of like a season of a show, or maybe you want to create a group about a certain product that you're making content about.
Hmm.
We make it really easy to do that. So, we can search across all of these posts and say like, Daniela makes a lot of content about, this color line she works with called Redken Shades EQ. If I wanted to search for Redken, now she's made these 300 posts about Redken, and that keyword is either it's in a title, it's in a description, it's in a tag, it's in a story caption, whatever it is. Um, and I can really easily I can pick and choose individual posts or even select all of them. There are 300 of them, so it's going to take a second.
Yeah.
There we go. They're selected. And then we can add them to a group. So say we click to add them to a group. I could create a new group, or I could add them to an existing one. So we'll just call it Redken 2. Great. Now, if I want to like reference all of those or see their data in aggregate, I can do that. So I just click over to group.
Oh,
I got
I see.
Redken 2. That loads up and bam, I have all of these in a single group. I can see the lifetime impressions,
Oh,
video
that's
views,
cool.
engagements, all that stuff. And I could filter it down further. I could export this data and share it with, a partner. Maybe I'm working with Redken directly and they want this data. So
Hmm.
it's really easy for you to do that and provide that yourself.
Yeah, that works well. Like for like you said, season content. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
like if you got a podcast or a live stream that you have a season that you do season one, season two, you can kind of group season one, season two, and get all the metrics there. If you like we do, we put a hashtag for our training, and we use a hashtag only for certain types of videos, so you can kind of look up that hashtag, group anything with that hashtag, and see how that's working.
Yep.
Cool, I like that.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to dig into like some of like more details on how, like, what data we're getting and how we're determining these normal ranges and everything. So why don't we do that? So let's like take this YouTube video for example.
Okay.
First off, there's a lot of information that we can get about the video. Like we're extracting any hashtags that were put on there. You can see the full description and any links that were on there. You can see the video tags were added to it. So we have a lot of metadata, and all of this information is indexed for searching from the post list. So if I search hair technique, that's going to pop up. That's really great. If you want to watch the content, you can do it. You click it, and it'll just link out. Or, one cool thing in the case of Instagram is we're, saving these stories forever. So, you have them backed up somewhere outside of Instagram, and you can, use those for other things. So if we look into the data that we have, there's a lot of stuff here, right? Like we have an overview that has just high level metrics for things that are important. For YouTube, they give us a lot of data, which is great. Video views, watch time, traffic sources. We can pipe in your revenue data if you add that as a permission. So, you can see how much money this video made, how its CPM went. So we can see like, hey, maybe this is monetizing at a higher rate than normal or a lower rate than normal. I know that's really important for a lot of creators who are, either professional creators or aspiring professionals. So, how do you maximize that revenue is something that you probably want to focus on too.
Nice.
We have some metrics that we're calculating. So, if we look at like these icons, we have this little equal sign. Okay. And I'll say like, hey, this is something that we put together. So every time you see this little equal sign, this is something that you don't get in the native platform analytics. So, we're calculating things like total engagement or engagement rate or your like to dislike ratio, 10-second views, 1-minute views, completed views. So, you're getting a little bit more than you would get from the native platform itself too. So that was important to us. Like, if people are commonly calculating these metrics by hand, we want to give it to you automatically.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that. That's a great tip.
Yeah, we got audience metrics like subscribers gained and lost, stuff like that.
Yeah, YouTube gives you a lot of data.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah, they do. You'll notice we have these benchmarks, like this is 9 times higher than normal. And we have that flag for every single metric. And that really kind of runs all over the place. Like, video views are 9 times higher, but revenue per 1,000 views is slightly lower than average. Or subscribers lost is slightly higher than average. So, the dislikes 11 times higher than normal. Wow, why is that? So, just because we have one main metric of success from the post list, like video views, so, exposure is the main metric of success we're counting, doesn't mean everything's good. And there might be some interesting things that you can take away from that. Like, you might have a case where you have a ton of engagements, but a lot of those engagements are dislikes, so it's negative. So it's like, okay, maybe there's something I did to tweak the audience, or it was off color, or whatever. So diving into the details is also really, really valuable.
Nice.
When we look at like a given metric, all these things, if you're confused about a definition of what it is, if you hover, we give you a little, pop up that tells you exactly what it is. Each one of these things is also clickable, so long as you see a little arrow. So, if we look into this, we can see a graph of video views over time. We can pick different date periods for that. Again, we have 24-hour data, so that's really interesting. YouTube has hourly data as well, but it's on a rolling 48-hour basis. So, if you want to see that hourly data for the first 24 hours, you have to write it down by yourself. You can't like keep that and download it. So we're doing that for you. So that's another thing.
Wow. Okay, so you're monitoring this. You're getting more details than YouTube gives you.
Yeah. So we're like
monitoring it as as the first period of time before like YouTube gives you that kind of discrete details of events that are happening. Wow, that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. And like, the reason we're doing that is, maybe you want to watch your video and affect some change on it. Like maybe you're not getting much viewership in the first few hours and you say, okay, wait a minute, maybe it's time to change my thumbnail up. Maybe it's time to change my description and try and affect some kind of positive change on it. That's really the reason why we thought hourly data was a really important thing to include.
Nice. I got a question here. It's probably a good time to drop it in. Doug's asking, this is perfect. I appreciate all the questions, Doug. This is awesome. So we do a weekly live broadcast. How can I use this tool to figure out why one broadcast gets more reach compared to others?
Gotcha.
So the assumption is you say we go live. Yeah, well, I say once a week. So you go live once a week. You group them all together. Like, how would you? It's kind of like a case study or use case, I guess, for live streamers. Is how do we compare our live streams and to see why this one got more reach compared to the other one? So how I kind of walk through that for Instagram, but maybe you can just kind of repeat that process as if it's a Facebook Live.
Sure.
Or talk through it, whatever's easier for you.
I don't know if I have any accounts connected that have done live.
Okay. Just take a video, maybe a Facebook video, and just.
Yeah, I could pick a video. Today, there are live streaming metrics that you can get for YouTube and Facebook, and it basically just involves snapshotting stuff hourly. So it'd be very similar to like hourly video views in the case that we were looking at before. So if I wanted to say, let's pretend all these YouTube videos are just our live streams. And live streaming is something that's interesting to us, and we want to do a little bit more with live streaming data with like adding platforms like Twitch, like I mentioned. But if I wanted to compare like hourly video performance, and we'll pretend that these are live streams for a given video. And I'm looking at stuff by most viewed. Great. So like these are, my top posts that I published live. Maybe I want to compare a few of them head to head that did well. So, I'm picking, there's not a lot of hourly data because we just haven't published on YouTube that much. Since we connect to the account. So to clarify, we only have hourly data for new posts after you've added the account to Measure Studio. So unfortunately, we can't get that from the past.
Correct. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So like in this case, okay, I've set a first 24-hour period. So these are like, great, this is how these did in the first 24 hours. I'm going to select them and then compare them head to head. So I can see, one of these posts both started out at relatively the same footing. So if I'll choose the hourly period again. You can see they really started out in hour one. They both got almost the same amount of viewership. But over time, this video, how to balayage, kind of took off and headed, quite a bit ahead, almost double the views that this other one about this haircutting technique performed. So, digging into that, there might be some reasons why. So if I look at this video, I can see that, on average, the audience watched for at least 5 minutes. I know watch time is a big factor in how YouTube ranks things. So maybe that is pretty important. If I look at this other video, I can see the average watch time is about half that. It's, a little over 2.5 minutes. And the audience watched for, about 10% less than the last one. So, when you dig into that stuff, and you can see this by changing the metric up for comparison, I think. So let's look at like 1 minute views is like an arbiter. Well, here we go. Look at first 7 days for that. There's only a few metrics we can get hourly, like public metrics. So like 1 minute views, we can see that, this balayage one generated more watch views that were for a higher session time. So that's interesting. There's, probably some other stuff we could look at, like maybe engagement rate. Well, this is pretty tightly correlated. So, you can see like, you pick and choose different metrics and say like, hey, these two things are exactly the same. So that probably wasn't the differentiator. Maybe it was subscribers game. Like, whoa, here we go.
Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah.
Like this curl thing actually lost subscribers for the channel, whereas this hair color tutorial gained subscribers. So that's interesting. Like maybe the audience cares about hair color and they don't care about styling. Like styling is a pretty generic thing. For a hairdresser, curling, something is something anybody can do. And there's probably a lot of channels that provide basic hairstyle stuff. But, her audience is super serving techniques for like, actual color artisanship and whatnot. So, that could be a good, takeaway is like, don't just look at the data, look at the content itself.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, you kind of derive a conclusion based on what you see. All right, I see a difference here. It might be this. I mean, the next step is let's do more of the other one. Let's do what the hair color salon tutorial is showing, because that's the one that worked better. Like I mean, there's no concrete answer. Like this is the exact reason why, but these are indicators of showing, okay, these are the differences. And in this case, it's a big difference. We actually lost subscribers when you put this video out.
Right.
Okay. Not doing that again, not talking about that subject again. So, I hope that answered your question, Doug. I know you asked about Facebook Lives, but I think the principle is the same. You're showing here YouTube because you've done YouTube videos more, but I think the principle is the same. You would select Facebook and pull the stats. I'm curious though, and the engagement stats for Facebook and for YouTube, does it include comments? Like, is it comment and engagement, or is it just a like or a heart?
Yeah, we do have like a number of comments.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And we're tracking those over time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We don't have the comment content or the person who comments.
No, but just like as they're happening, like at this point, there's a lot of comments here, or a big jump in comments here. Why? We can dive in and see what happened there. Maybe
absolutely
something good happened.
Yeah. But kind of moving on to that, I think let's get into like why we're benchmarking something. So, we're saying, okay, this is 9 times higher than normal. What does that mean? And that's something that like really we spent a lot of time thinking about. And we wanted to, again, compare your content to your own content. So you're not trying to measure yourself against somebody else or environmental conditions that are out of your control. And we wanted that to adapt based on how you're growing and what's happening with the algorithm. Like, so basically what we're doing here is we're looking at, let's get a graph that's a little bit easier to see. This, maybe something is like 2 times higher than normal on this video. Okay, comments, let's look at comments. So we can see like this orange area here. And what that is what we've used some sophisticated math to determine is normal for this given post. You know what, I'm gonna do this with an Instagram story because I think that there's probably just a little bit better data and it's probably a little bit more consistent. So let's look at, okay, we got an Instagram story about lunch. Perfect. Okay, so we can see here we have this normal range, like what's typical in hour 12 for an Instagram story. And we can see that we're just doing a little bit better than that. And just doing a little bit better above what we've calculated normal to be is what we want. If this line, this colorful line, is below this normal range that we've calculated, then we're saying like, okay, this could do a little bit better. But the math behind it is a little complicated, but where it nets out at is about, a third of your posts that are going to be doing well, about a third of them are going to be doing a little below normal, and about a third of them are going to be doing normally. And what we're doing is we're looking at all of your recent published content, and then all of your historic published content of that type. So specifically, we're looking at Instagram stories on this specific account. And so these benchmarks and normal ranges that we're setting are going to be unique to that post type. They're going to be unique to that account. They're going to be unique to that platform. So if I look at a benchmark for, a YouTube video, and I look at a benchmark for an Instagram story, those two things are completely different. So naturally, the benchmark's going to be completely different. What's also interesting is that we are recalculating these benchmarks every time you publish something new. So like what it means to be successful a week ago may be different than what it means to be successful today. So you might see like this normal range for an Instagram story bump up over time as you're getting, you're growing your account, you're growing impressions on Instagram stories. So that's something to keep in mind too. But, again, we really want to make something smart that adapts constantly so that, you are understanding what it means to do well right now, not what it meant to do well 2 months ago, or not what it means to do well, 5 years in the future when you have 1 million followers.
Right. It's all relative to now, to what's going on now, given your number of followers, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all relative to what you're doing now. That's
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this is to me like, I don't know, I call it enterprise stuff. Like this is like heavy duty data, right? It's not like it's heavy duty data that's available to anybody, like who, with a few clicks. I think it's phenomenal. That's why that caught my attention when we first talked. I think I loved it. I loved how simple it is. I loved how much data you get. It's not like it's a limited product. It's like you can get any kind of data that the platforms give out, and you can get it served in any way that you want that makes sense to you in terms of comparison, in terms of exporting, in terms of red, green, what's good, what's not good. Are you allowed to set kind of thresholds or goals? Is that something that, like, down the road maybe you guys are looking to add, where I can set a goal of I want to hit 1,000 views or whatever? I mean, goals are just relative to the person, but I'm just curious if there's a way to do that or something in the works for setting goals, benchmarks.
Totally. Yeah, it's not something that we have today, but it is something that we've heard from our customers. So, if you want to set a specific view goal for something, one thing we're interested in doing is not telling you when you hit that goal, like say it's 10,000 views for a video, or hell, let's say it's 1 million views, and you have like some kind of commitment, even like say you are committed to delivering 1 million views on this video. What we're interested in doing is looking at like, not only did you hit that goal, but will you ever hit that goal? So, could we do accurately short-term predictions? Like say we got 3 days of data and you got 7 days to deliver 1 million views. We're on day 3. we're at 400,000 views. Guess what? You're never going to hit that goal. So, we're interested in telling you, hey, will you hit it? And if you're not going to hit it, that means you need to do something to promote it. Maybe you need to do an ad buy. Maybe you need to work at a cross promotion campaign with somebody. Maybe you need to re-optimize the video and do some better keyword tagging and a new thumbnail or something like that. So, I think it's good for people to set goals and understand if they're realistic and achievable.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And Doug's got another question. I'm going to let you answer it because it's a technical question. I'm going to just bring it up on the screen and I'll bring it back down.
Sure.
But I guess it's the tool able to analyze data points in our account and make suggestions or proactive suggestions on stuff we should be paying attention to, either good or bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the answer is not yet. But that is very much probably within the future that we're thinking about. We live in a really exciting time for technologies like computer vision that can, do the hard work for us and say like, okay, what's in a video? Is it a blender? Is it a salad? There's really cutting edge stuff that makes more qualitative, determinations about a piece of, content, like, is this person happy? Or are these people having fun? Or, things that are a little bit more esoteric. What is the quality of the image? Is it grainy? Is it out of focus? Or is it really polished? Does it have a photo filter on it? So these are all things that there are technologies to, run your content through it and make some determinations about it. And what I think is exciting about the future of our product is, here we've built like the nuts and bolts of the performance data. Like we know what's working and we know what's not working. And there's technologies out there that are going to allow us to say why it's working or not working, or tell you like, hey, here's all of your content about salads or all of your content about dogs. And here's what your content about dogs usually, performs on. Like maybe we have unique benchmarks for those specific content groups. Maybe we're making those groups automatically for you and telling you what to do with them. So, the possibilities, the ceiling on that is really, really high. It is a new product, so we haven't gotten to all that yet, but we're definitely excited to see what the future brings with that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, well, actually, I was just playing with an app in my brother's place. So you take a picture of a plant and it tells you what kind of plant it is. So you take a picture of a bird and tells you exactly all its details. So like, this AI technology is amazing, and definitely the potential to integrate it and extract data to add to what you're doing here, context about the video or about the picture, etc. It just adds a whole new dimension of analytics, which is exciting.
Oh.
Awesome. So I think we've gone over an hour, and I appreciate it. People are still online. Time flies when you're having fun.
Right.
But anybody have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I think we're kind of winding down here, but is there anything you wanted, any more features you wanted to show or
sure.
Kind of see, it looks like we've covered a bunch of pretty much everything in the groups to post, but is there anything that we missed that you want to kind of showcase while we wait for last minute questions? So if you have last minute questions, drop them in the comments right now and we'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple little nuts and bolts things, but we've covered like the content and data features, and that's most of it. Couple little things, if you have questions, you can drop us a line anytime. We'll respond within 24 hours. I'm on there personally, so feel free to write in. Okay, I'm on live stream. Now answer my question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you can do that. We have a help center with, articles, a few questions about, how to do certain things or what certain data points mean or whatever. We try and make an article for it. If you don't have an article for it, write me in the chat. I'll make an article for it. We have a public roadmap and suggestion box. So you can actually make suggestions and vote on things that people want to see. So one thing people are really excited about is they want to see like a dashboard of how they're doing on all their accounts for a given platform. So like I have 5 YouTube channels. What are all my views on YouTube? So right now we're working on some pretty exciting stuff in the back end to allow you to make your own custom dashboard and make your own custom dashboard for each group. So that'll add a lot of flexibility. You can actually see what we're working on right now. So, we're working on an integration with Snapchat Story Studio for you Story Studio account owners out there. We're looking at adding TikTok as a platform in the future. We're looking at adding Twitch and estimating follower growth and doing weekly email reports, all kinds of different stuff. So if you have something that you want to see, write in here. I'm going to see it. I'll respond to it. I'll tell you exactly, like, hey, is this possible? This is a really good idea. Thanks a lot. So we'll definitely take care to be involved with that.
Nice.
I guess the last couple of things feature-wise is, we really believe in not only data portability, but your right to be forgotten. If you don't want us to have this data, it's really easy to remove your account. Just click into it, click these little dots. You can download all your data from it. You can download all your stored media from it, and then you can delete it.
Nice.
So that's like pretty straightforward.
Awesome.
Very
cool.
we have teams. So, if you have a team of people you're collaborating with, or maybe there's a brand you're collaborating with, you want to add them, you can add them specifically to your account. And you can kind of check and pick and choose exactly what you want them to be able to do. You can make them an account owner so they can do everything. That's really about it, other than just, how much does it cost and how does that work? So I'm happy to dig into that if that's something you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like Doug's question kind of ties right into what you were saying right now. Is that 25% discount for life, or is it off the first month?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Totally. So that's forever. So as long as you're a subscriber, we're going to give you that 25% discount. And that's additive to any other discount you have with like your pricing term. So here, why don't I just dive into the pricing? So here's our website, and you can learn a lot more about like exactly what makes us different for each of these platforms, or if maybe you're, a publisher or an influencer or whatever, why is this good for you? So check that out if you want to see, a couple like feature benefit things. But we also have our pricing online. It's totally transparent. So you don't need to like request a demo to see a price and get like a, some kind of custom quote or whatever. So we have a few different pricing tiers, and each one of these tiers, at least right now, has all the same functionality. So like, if you're a creator and you have one account and you want to do powerful things like benchmarking and comparisons, you can do all of it, all the way down to the creator level, all the way up to, more expensive business tiers and stuff. The other thing to highlight for each of these plans is we have month-to-month options. So, if you want to cancel after 1 month, great, you can do that. We're not going to charge you forever. But if you do want to save some money, you can pay annually up front, and any plan is 25% off. So
discounts on top of that.
It is. So,
that's a great deal. Wow.
Yeah. You want to pay, instead of, say you're a creator and you want to pay $15 a month, and you are from Repurpose.io and you click through, you're going to get the rate of $11.25 a month, which is the same as our annual plan. And if you select our annual plan, you're going to get another 25% off that $11.25. Wow, so that's it's pretty inexpensive in terms of
accessibility. Exactly. That's key. Yeah. That's key, right? We're kind of in the same ballpark. That's what attracted me to this product, is that it's not like repurpose users are paying in a very similar price points, and I think that's important, right? It's a great compliment to your product. Not that you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars a month.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. Right?
No, and we want people to use it, and we want people who are just starting out to get the same value as people who have a whole organization built around this stuff. But yeah, you can see all the features. Each of these plans has all the same features. For now, we might build a few things out for like more advanced tiers later that are like, probably more like enterprise-y type things like APIs and, PowerPoint decks and stuff like that. But in any case, the tiers are like this. So creator, you get up to 3 social media accounts, and so you're the only one who can see this stuff. You can't use Teams or anything like that. But it's a great, if you're a solo operation, it's a great option for you. At Squad, you get up to 5 social media accounts and up to 3 team members. So this is probably a little bit better for like a small group of people who are doing stuff. It could be good for a small business that's trying to just get into social media marketing. It could be good for a single brand. Like Coca-Cola could use this for $50 a month if they wanted to, and they just wanted to share the data with 3 people. When you get there, we also give you dedicated account support. So, we'll come in, we'll train you for an hour, answer any questions you want. And then anytime you have a question, we'll give you like a direct person to talk to, whether that's me or somebody on my team. And we'll definitely, help you however we can. For like media companies who have a little bit bigger following, maybe you have 6 or more accounts or 20 or team members, the pricing starts at 100, and it's a little bit more flexible, and we price it based on usage. So, say you have 25 social media accounts and 4 team members, it's going to cost a little bit more because, we are storing your data that has a fixed cost for us. So, our cost goes up with the amount of accounts that you're connecting. And then, say you want, 10 team members and stuff. So that pricing goes all the way up. You can have up to 25 team members, up to 25 social media accounts. You get all the same stuff from the other tiers. And, if you have more than that, say you're Disney and you have 500 social media accounts and an organization of, hundreds of marketers, that's something we can support too. So just, give us a call. We'll see what your needs are, and we'll put together a package for you that makes sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Doug's got a more like feedback.
Sure.
I know pricing and packaging is always tricky and what to include. He was just, he's wishing to have the 4th package in there in the creator package.
Okay.
So it's more like feedback. I know it's, me as a software creator myself, sometimes it's hard to identify what plans are which, but I thought I'd share it, acknowledge Doug and appreciate his comments on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So he wants 4 accounts is what you're saying?
Yeah, like he was saying, it'd be nice to have the ability to track more than just 3 in the creator. So 4 in the creator, or at least 4 in the creator. Yeah. But of course, I mean, that's, something you guys can possibly consider down the road. But I mean, the pricing and the discount, especially if you go for the yearly. I mean, my suggestion always is, just me personally, I always try it for a month. If I like it, then I know I'm committing for this. Then I upgrade to the yearly, and then that way I get the discount. So
totally. Well, Doug, feel free to, if you register for a free trial and write me in the support chat, maybe we can work out a little custom plan for you. I'm always open to figure something out.
Okay, awesome. So, and kind of a follow up. He's asking if you do start with a creator, kind of what I'm saying, and then you upgrade to a bigger plan later. Can that discount is still on file, so it still applies for everything? Okay, sweet.
Yep, still applies. You can upgrade, you can downgrade. You're going to have that 25%.
That's awesome. Okay. Very good. Great questions. Great feedback. Well, great, amazing product. And I appreciate everyone for being here and sticking around. We went way over than we thought. You and I talked, Thomas, in the beginning. We're like, yeah, we won't go over an hour for sure. But but I was like, wait a second, it's almost an hour and a half. But wow, we still have almost everybody on still. And I appreciate all the great questions, Doug and everybody. And I mean, Kyle's saying that he appreciates the information. I mean, it's a great product, great way to learn. I know as people made some jokes earlier saying, I don't want to learn how good or bad my data is, right? But you do, right? You're spending time and effort. You want to know what your audience likes and what's causing people to leave or not leave. And so, having that data, having that information helps you make some decisions. And of course, it's all about a cycle, right? You make a decision, okay, next time I'm going to try this. You put it out there, wait a period of time, see what happens, after a week, several days, a week, etc., and see if your assumption is true. So you're constantly testing and constantly but you have data to reason and justify your next change that you're doing in your content. Or it doesn't have to be a big one. It could be a small, subtle change, maybe a thumbnail, or maybe just how you start your broadcast. Maybe you start it differently, etc. So having this data helps you make decisions, and that's why I think this is a very powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to demystify it. We want to make it easy for you. We don't want it to be intimidating or make you feel bad about yourself. We just want to focus on how do you do a little bit better than last time? And everyone's an overnight success 5 years in the making or something like that. So just
Yeah.
a little bit better consistently over time. You're going to grow. You're going to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so if there aren't any more questions, I think we'll wrap up. So if you're watching the replay, I'm monitoring this myself, and I'll bring in Thomas as well. If any comments, just as if you're watching it live, leave a comment, ask a question, and we'll get it answered. If Thomas doesn't catch it, I'll catch it. I'll ping him. We'll get you all the answers you need, and you can try it for free at repurpose.io/Measure Studio. And if you like it, you get 25% extra discount on top of any of their plans. All right. Thanks,
Perfect.
everyone. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it for the awesome software and for taking the time to walk through it.
Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate everyone in the audience and all their questions. So thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And we will talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great one.
Bye, everyone.